And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So what I'd like to speak today, I spent a lot of time talking about the need to financially plan for retirement. And obviously that's very, very important, right? Or because you need to create a nest egg so that you can retire and have sort of your dream retirement, or if it turns into you don't want it to turn into a nightmare, right? You don't want to be eating tuna fish, right? And rice or whatever your whole retirement. You want to make sure that you have that financial security. So I spend, as you know, a lot of time speaking about that. But there's another element of retirement, which I think is actually it's hard to say it's more important once the financial aspect is taken into account, or is successfully implemented. I do think that sort of the philosophy of retirement, right? Planning on how you're going to retire, not financial, right? Everything else is incredibly important. In my job, I see people all the time who just aren't ready. They'll come in in the middle of February and they say, we're retiring the end of May. So what's your plan? Well, the first Sunday in June, we're off for 3 weeks on a trip. And I say, okay, that's fantastic. What else are you going to do tomorrow? Well, we love to travel. We plan on planning another 2 trips a year. I said, how long? 3 weeks each time. Great. Okay, we're up to 9 weeks. I said, what are you going to do for the other 43 weeks? Right? Travel, as I say, travel is not a retirement plan. People have to think long and hard how they're going to, fill up their days once they retire. I like to refer to retirement sort of as chapter 2, right? The next chapter in your life. People can be retired for, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm not talking about the FIRE movement of being financially independent and retiring early. I've got a whole different thing to say about that. It's not exactly what I, believe in, because ultimately, we're put on this world to serve a purpose and to try and do good and to be creative and productive. To sit around and watching Netflix in our underwear, at 40 years old because we didn't spend a penny and we did a bunch of side hustles and we worked really, really hard. I don't know that that's the end game, right? I don't know if that's ultimately the goal of life. So that's a different podcast. I'll give you a couple of illustrations. So there's a guy in my neighborhood who was an evacuee from the north, and he moved into our neighborhood. And I saw him sort of recently, I thought, walking aimlessly around, just walking slowly up and down sort of the major thoroughfares, major roads, then sort of walking, sort of exploring, but sort of walking into the entrances of apartment buildings. I thought it was just really, really weird. And I felt so bad for him. I'm like, this guy lives in the northern Israel and his whole life is there. And he's here, he's displaced, living in Jerusalem. He's got nothing to do. Right? He's just like counting the hours until his next meal or until he can go to sleep and then do the same thing the next day. It's like sort of nothing to live for. And I asked him, I saw him one day last week and I said, so what do you do to fill up your time that you're not working and you're not home anymore or whatever? And he said, oh, me? I do editing on Wikipedia and I'm like a closet botanist. Botany is like my big hobby. And since I sort of went into semi-retirement, I've spent all this time I photograph plants, I identify them through my various sources, and then I write about them on Wikipedia. And if I don't like what's already there about them on Wikipedia, I edit it. And I was like, what? Seriously? And that explained it. That's why he's like walking slowly, going into the entrances of the building. So he's finding plants that he found really interesting. He's actually doing research on them. In fact, we saw him and he told me about this. There was this plant coming out of the Jerusalem stone, the side of a building that we were standing outside of, and we were having this conversation. He goes, oh, you see that? That's called a kotla Yehuda, right? And I thought it was something else. No, kotla, because in Hebrew, a kotel is a wall. So he says it's like the Judean wall plant because it comes out of the wall. And he picked one, he picked like a little leaf, and he put it on his lapel, and it sticks, right? And then he went on and on. He was telling us me and another friend, he was giving us this whole explanation of the sort of the Judean wall plant, Go figure. Anyway, we parted, and then I was walking back home with my friend, and he proceeded to tell me about a great story about his father-in-law. So his father-in-law did not plan for retirement, and when he decided to retire, he was home, and it took literally a week for his wife to get fed up with him and to send him out. He goes, I want you to go to the marina on the coastal marina, and just stay there for a few hours and then come back. I don't want you in the house anymore. I can't deal with you. Okay. So he went there, and he stumbled upon a couple of guys fishing. One of them was this old Russian man. And he started asking him, what are you fishing for? What kind of bait are you using? And then he started questioning, well, why are you using that bait? Why don't you go for other fish? Why don't you use other bait? And the guy just dropped his pole and started chasing him. This old Russian man chased him away. He goes, like, get out of here. Enough already. Leave me alone. I just want to fish. So I thought that was pretty funny, the juxtaposition of those two, right? We had the guy who planned for retirement with me and my friend, and then my friend telling me the story about his father-in-law, who certainly did not plan for retirement. I thought it was really funny, but it's a real big issue. And I see it, like I said at the beginning, I see it all the time where people are just not prepared. They work hard their whole life, and then they retire. What do you do? What you got to do is you got to think about it. You got to think about it a few years before you hit retirement. What is it that I like to do? How am I going to plan my day? You need to be active. You need to be productive, right? Sitting around watching Netflix is not a retirement plan. I'm sorry. Travel is not a retirement plan. It could be part of a retirement plan, right? You have to fill up your day, right? It can be starting out by, going to the gym. Maybe Netflix is part of that. I'm not against watching television, right? But you have to have something thought out, whether maybe volunteering, taking some courses, the combination, maybe working a little bit, working part-time, whatever it is. Do yourself and your spouse a big favor and start thinking about how you want to view retirement, not just financially, but how do you view it? What do you want to do to have a successful retirement and productive retirement? It's incredibly important, or else you're going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to bounce off the walls. Okay, so think about it. We're going to be speaking about more and more about this topic because I think it's fascinating. Okay, you've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.